With some breaking news overnight at the request of John Tower. More strikes by the U.S. against Iran. It's the second round of attacks this week, and it could put those peace talks in big jeopardy. So we're also following fallout from President Trump's comments during a cabinet meeting on Wednesday, where he threatened to bomb one of our allies. MTS Tayeb has the latest from Tel Aviv. MTS, good morning to you. What is Iran saying about all of this?
Gail, very good morning to you, too. Well, Iran's Revolutionary Guard has said it's targeted an American airbase after a U.S. attack overnight near one of its coastal airports. Now, the IRGC did not say which U.S. base it had targeted, but warned of a more decisive response to come.
As I've said 1,000 times, their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, everything's gone, and they're negotiating on fumes.
That was President Trump's claims at yesterday's White House cabinet meeting. But this morning, Iran says it fired at a U.S. airbase in retaliation, Tehran said, for a U.S. strike overnight near Bandar Abbas Airport on its western coast. Kuwait, which hosts a large U.S. Army base, today said it intercepted missile and drone threats without saying where it came from. The flare-up follows the Pentagon's announcement on Monday U.S. forces carried out, quote, defensive strikes on Iranian missile launch sites and mine lane boats in southern Iran. Iranian state TV later broadcast this video of what it says is the Revolutionary Guard tracking and firing at a U.S. F-35 jet and downing an MQ-9 Reaper drone. We have no way of independently verifying the claims. But as Washington and Tehran continue to negotiate the future of the Strait of Hormuz after imposing dueling blockades on it and sending global energy prices soaring, President Trump appeared to threaten a key ally.
Nobody's going to control it. It's international waters, and Oman will behave just like everybody else, so we'll have to blow them up. They understand that. They'll be fine.
Now, it's unclear whether the president meant that the U.S. would take military action against former mediator Oman, but the growing frequency of what appears to be tit-for-tat U.S. and Iranian strikes continues to raise serious questions about just how durable this ceasefire really is.
Hello, Bobby Jones here from MeidasTouch and Valor Media Networks. So we are now in the month of June. We have seen 3 full months, 90 plus days of the conflict between the United States, Iran, and Israel. And I want to just take a moment to pause and do a snapshot comparison of how the United States and its military was viewed before February 28, 2026, and how it's being viewed now, ever since Operation Epic Fury began. So let's start with what matters the most: lives, i.e. the casualties or the loss of life. Right now, the United States has 15 killed in action military members with over 500 wounded in action. What's interesting about this is that last number, wounded in action, seems to have fluctuated a lot over the last few weeks. That is because the numbers that have been initially given by the Secretary of Defense and the Pentagon themselves has changed depending on what media reports have come out to either challenge or validate those numbers. There's a lack of trust with the actual numbers pertaining to America's armed forces as this conflict continues. That's scary. That's happened before in the past, but in today's social media age and the world being as connected as it is, a lot of the things that have been disproven that have come out of the military's public affairs has been because of social media. I mean, recorded pictures of planes being shot down or bases being bombed. Speaking of which, over 17 bases have been confirmed to have been damaged during this conflict in under 90 days. 17. That's not counting the 42 aircraft that have been lost or damaged, the 17 plus radar systems that have been damaged due to the constant bombing, to the point where the United States is pulling assets from other parts of the world into the Middle East theater due to the lack of capability after Iran's successful drone strikes. Now, this is also contrary to what officially Pete Hegseth and the rest of the Department of Defense are saying in front of Congress and to the media. They're saying there's nothing to worry about. For example, the ammunition counts are high. For example, we still have all of our air defense capabilities in theater. But when you look at the movement of forces, people, and equipment, that obviously is not true. The $29 billion that they assessed as damage is a complete fabrication. The Pentagon themselves admitted that they did not calculate the cost of repairing those 17 bases that I just mentioned in that analysis. So when we talk about 29, that's just for the operational stuff, not the structural stuff that is in theater. And to not count that as a cost towards war is absolutely ridiculous, because that is now how budgetary people calculate what actually needs to be paid. When you look at the systems and the equipment that have been attacked, we're talking about AWACS, which is basically a command and control platform that is airborne. When you look at the TPY-2 radar systems that have been taken down, THAAD systems, all these are expensive systems that are hard to replace and take years to create. And they are being taken out by drones that are only $5,000 to $10,000 a pop. So to backfill all of this, the United States is going to take years to do so, which is why the foreign military sales that the United States sells their equipment to other allies, such as Taiwan, have been put on the back burner. They've been delayed. So if you have enough ammunition, if you still have the military capability, then why are you moving forces into the Middle East? And why are you not selling contractually obligated weapon systems to your allies if everything is going well? That leads to the Pentagon's request of $1.5 trillion to operate. Where is that number coming from? That's in addition to the $200 billion that the Pentagon is requesting to conduct Operation Epic Fury, which, by the way, they cannot tell you when success happens. They cannot tell you what successful metrics need to be met for this operation to end. And by the way, despite the congressional law saying you have to get permission from Congress to go over 60 days in fighting a conflict, we still have kinetic action going on during a, quote, ceasefire. So all of this is interesting, but not compelling. It's not compelling because we don't know what the future looks like. What we do know is the people who are actually fighting the war in uniform have been dramatically affected. The lack of morale across the force has been noted. If you look on social media in certain pockets that's not official DOD, you can see people complaining. Family members definitely complaining because they don't know when their loved ones are coming home. They don't know if their loved ones are getting their mail. They don't know a lot of things. With the initial reports at the beginning of this whole conflict about the food or lack thereof, with the logistical nightmare of just getting basic supplies to troops in theater, and the fact that the base is being hit means these service members have to hide in hotels. All of that has an effect on the force. This air of invincibility is gone. And despite what the president and the Secretary of Defense are saying, the United States cannot pull its warships back into the Middle East. Heck, ships themselves can't go through the Strait of Hormuz, and you have sailors that can't even report to work in theater. But yet you're saying that you have militarily won this conflict. Makes absolutely no sense. You are going to see, just hear me out now, you're going to see many service members choose not to re-enlist because of this, because of the uncertainty that this administration has brought about. The administration will brag about how retention or recruiting is high, but that started under Biden. But they haven't talked about retention yet. That is a key thing. Recruiting is one thing. Retaining is a completely different thing. And as President Trump wants to use the military as political backdrops now for, the UFC event on the White House lawn, and anytime they want to look tough using troops as political backdrop, understand a lot of these young people are going to leave because they do not buy into what's happening. And so that leads to this. Where do we go from here? What does the United States military take as lessons learned? Number one, you need to understand that no matter how powerful your military is, the civilian leadership has to be capable, has to be competent. They have to matter. They have to have a strategic outlook. And we have not seen that. President Trump is still yet to tell you strategically what we are doing currently. And as the rest of the world fractures because of the United States, basically, unilateral actions, you cannot tell me what the American military will be 2 years from now or 5 years from now because of this. What I can tell you is this: it's not going to be as robust or as strong or as mission ready because of a war that the United States self-selected to be in.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.